Now we will drape the princess bodice. The princess bodice is a fitted bodice with vertical seams that replace darts. The dress form has vertical seams in it, and we will be using those to drape our princess bodice. Before we begin, we want to get a measurement between the apex and the center, and then we'll mark our, it's 3.5 on this one. We'll prep our fabric to begin. Our fabric preparation for the princess is 2 panels that have been blocked, and we have 25 inches for straight of grain. We have the 1-inch turn back, which will be the center front, and then we have them, they're both 10 inches across. Now what we need to do is find the center of this and mark it, and we're going to draw a perpendicular line across there, which will be at the bust point, and we want it at the same place on the other piece so that they both have this bust point. On the front one, we're going to go from the apex to the center front, and we had already measured that was 3.5. So we're going to make a little mark there to know where to place it on the dress form when we start. This will be our center front panel, and this will be our side front panel. We've marked across there in half, but now what we need to do is fold this one in half and get a mark up the center of this. Okay, so we have our panel that's for our center princess drape, and I've already marked the 3.5 inches over here to the bust point. I want that secured on there, and then I'm going to double pin it just like we do in all of our drapes. We're going to pin it with the folded back center front, double pin it so it doesn't go anywhere while we're working on it. And make sure you get it right on the center line. Okay, so we'll get that all up and down there, and just like with the basic, we're going to skip this part right here so we can have a little finger distance in the middle there. I'm going to double pin it all the way down. Okay, we've pinned it down the center. We have it secured here at the bust point, so to keep that level. And now we come up here to the neck, and we're going to take away our little U part here and go around the neck so that we have the neck smooth. So that's all going around there. So now we're going to mark the intersection of the neck, and we're going to go dot around the neck to find then the intersection of the neck and the shoulder. And come on down here on the seam line of the shoulder until we get to the princess. And we're going to make a cross mark there. And then what you're going to do is feel that princess line in there, and you're going to come down there and dot it. You can feel the stitching in there. Come on down there till you get to the bust point. And then what you're going to do is move this over. You might have to snip so you can go around the form. Now let's stop and go over here to the waist. We've done this part, we're working up to the apex. And I have the intersection here. We're coming over here till we get to the waist and the princess. And you're going to make a cross mark right where that is. And then you're going to be feeling up there. Now you might have to do a little bit of side snipping in order to get it to fit nicely. Okay, so here we have the intersection of the princess, and we're going up that, and we might need to look under there and see where it is. And we go up there until we get to the apex. So you've marked all around here, check that you have the neck, intersection of the neck and the shoulder, shoulder and the princess, the apex coming on down here to the waist and the princess over here. Now you're ready to take it off and true it. Okay, we have the drape off of the dress form for the center front princess, and we connect all of the dots that we got from our draping. Connect all the dots. Do the neck, and then we've added 1/2 inch seam allowance outside of our line. Coming down, coming down. And then where we get to the center front, we want to have a bit of a right angle for about 1/2 inch right there at the center front. And we're going to drop the neck 1/2 inch. So come up here and find 1/2 inch. And then with your French curve, redraw from that 1/2 inch down to the original neck line. You've dropped that so she can move her neck. Now we have to get 2 inches above and below the apex. The apex, I'm going to make it dark so you can see it was right here. And we want 2 inches above it. We want to make a mark. And that's below it, and 2 inches above it. And we're going to use that for a join mark when we get to the side panel. This is the shape we have for the front panel of the princess. We have the 1 inch turn back. We have the bust point marked 2 inches above and below the apex. It has the seam allowance on it that has been cut out and ironed back. And now we're going to put it on the dress form and do the next panel that matches it. The front princess panel that we've prepared can be put back up here on the dress form, connecting the shoulders and the neck. This was dropped down, and we're going to line this up right on the center front all the way down. Now this piece has been folded under right on the seam, and that's going to be very handy because we can feel through that to get the edge of the next piece. I'm going to pin this all the way down here so it stays put, and I can put this on here where it goes. Everything's matching. Get that all in place. And then we're ready to bring up the next piece. Now, the next piece has a cross mark in the middle of each side, in the middle, on the grain line. And we're going to put a pin right in the middle of that cross mark. And the pin is going to be put right in the middle of this section right here, not on the edges but in the middle. So I'm going to put this right in the middle, and we're going to line up this level, the bust line level with the other one. We're going to get that level and pin that in there in place. Okay, so So we have it level at the bust line. We have this cross marked. Now what happens is this is going to go off grain toward the neck. We're going to fit this all in here very smoothly. And it's handy when you have the seam allowance of the first piece folded under, because you can tell exactly where to put the edge of the new piece. So we're going to ride along that edge all the way, as we can feel it there, and we're going to come up to the shoulder. And just like on the other, we're going to mark at the top of the armhole. We're going to mark level at the screw plate, and we're going to mark underneath at the stitching and the plate. We're going to make a cross mark, and we're going to rub down the stitching to the waist. So the side princess panel has been marked off on the side at the waist, and it has run along the edge of the front panel. It's very handy to have that there so we know exactly where it is. When you get up here, you might notice a little bit of a dart coming in here. Don't worry about that. We'll just make sure that these are absolutely level and these are right on the bust line. And then we're going to continue up here to rub along. This goes off grain, and we're going to rub along this other side here to get that. We have the top of the armhole, we have the screw, we have the under part. And now we can take it off and true it. Here we have the side princess panel. We've taken it off of the dress form. We're going to true it. We're going to drop down 1 inch from the original underarm, and we're going to go out a half. We're going to get a new mark and redraw down to the original waist, and we're going to connect the lines that we see here. Here's the apex. We're going to connect these lines here so we can see where they are. Here was the shoulder, and now we're going to come up here and we're going to hit all of our marks. Top of the arm, new armhole. Draw that in there. You're starting to see the shape of the side there. And we're going to draw in where that is. And then we're going to add our seam allowance. This is upside down, but I've added the seam allowance, and now I'm going to cut it out, and then we're going to see how these fit together. Now, one thing we need to do on here is mark 2 inches above and below the bust line, just like we did on the front. So I'm going to find that and mark 2 inches below and 2 inches above. Then I'm going to take the front drape and we're going to lay them together. This one is, the seam allowance is flat. This one has been folded under, so we could feel it when we were putting the other drape up. We're going to start here and we're going to pin everything together to see how it fits. We're also going to find our match points here at the 2 inches and the 2 inches. I'm beginning to pin the 2 parts together, this one folded over to the other one flat. I've come to the apex here, and now I'm actually going to have to lift it. I can't do it flat, but I'm going to bring the 2-inch marks away from the apex together and pin them from the fold out. So I get the bust point in here. And then we'll continue on up to the shoulder join, pinning the parts together. And then we're going to put it back on the dress form and test it. Now it may be that you need to stop from that and go up here to the shoulder and start pinning there, because there might be a little bit of a difference right in coming down to the bust where we get the shape of it going on. This has all been pinned together, and we've had to hold it underneath because this is on such a curve to accommodate the bust. Now when I get down here, I might see something is a little bit off, and if ever something's a little bit off, you correct it. We'll put it back on the dress form and see which of the 2 lines is more right. Here's our princess drape pinned together, and we're going to test it on the dress form to see how it fits. We anchor the shoulder and the neck together, and we're going to come down the front and double pin those together because we want to check the fit, make sure it's right on the seam line. Down the front, there's a space under here, a finger space under there, and we're going to see how this fits the bust. Come over here to the waist, and we had a little bit of a discrepancy right in here, and this is the time to take a red pencil and make a correction with a new line. If you have a change, you can use a different colored pencil to change it. There's also a thing sometimes that happens at the bust point where you can take a pin and you can move in some of this excess like that. So it's a really, really smooth fit by moving that in there like that, and then redrawing that sewing line with a different color so you know how to get an even cleaner bust point line there. The fabric preparation for the princess back is 2 pieces of muslin that have been blocked. The center back is turned back 1 inch. They're each 25 inches by 10. And we need to come down here to a mark that we're going to use for the shoulder blade, 8 inches down from the top of each one. And we've made a line across here at that 8 inches. Then we have to make a perpendicular line that will be in the center of this panel. We've made that mark there so that when we begin draping, we can pin the center of this panel to the center of the side back. Here's the back princess panel that's been double pinned up the center back, and we have the 8 inch down from the top that's going to be at the shoulder level, and we want to pin that in place so that it stays put while we're doing our drape. Then you're going to come in here and we're going to get the neck in there. Cut out our little U at the top and go around the neck, clipping it so that we have a good neck. On there, and we're going to find the shoulder. We're going to mark these, dot these, come over till we find the shoulder intersection of the neck. You might need to look at it, see where it is, and then continue on down the shoulder until you come to the princess panel. And then you're going to feel the stitching on here. That marks that panel, the center back panel. So come down here and feel where it is. All the way down to the waist. Now this is kind of not smooth here, so we have to clip it so that we can clip it up to the waist so that it fits nicely. This panel fits nice and smooth. It's still not fitting smooth, so I'm going to make another clip. I might have to go in sideways here too, just a little bit, to get this panel nice and smooth. Make all your marks, continuing down here to the waist. Get a good intersection of the waist and the center back. You have the neck, you have the intersection of the shoulder and the princess all the way down. So now we can take it off and true this piece so that we can add the next piece. Here's the center back princess drape that's been taken off of the dress form. And we've connected the neck dots, shoulder, and we've connected all the stitching dots from the princess back line and at the waist. And we want to come over 1 inch at a perpendicular line to the center back right here. And we want to come over at the neck 1 inch. Before we turn up. And we've added a 1/4 inch seam allowance to the neck and a 1/2 inch everywhere else. So we're coming down here and marking 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, all the way down here. And we're going to cut it out, press back this long section here so we can get the next panel to match it. Here's what the center back princess panel looks like. It has the center back folded back. It has the princess line seam allowance folded back, so we can put it up on the dress form and continue on with the side back panel. And we have our line a level all the way across both pieces. The center back princess panel has been returned to the form, and now we're going to add the side back princess panel. And we have these lines that go together, but we're going to put our pin in the middle of this where we made that cross mark, and that's going to be in the center of this right here. We want that right in the center, and we want this to line up with the shoulder level. We want this to stay level and continue the line that we had before. So we'll secure that, and we're going to see where this wants to move this way. And then we're going to come down here and put this in place. and secure it. Quite often, this line will end up in the center of a panel, as it's doing right now. So now we're going to drape this piece, and we're going to follow the edge of our center back princess panel. We can feel that edge all the way through there. Get a nice line there. Pin in the way, so continue on down here, down to the waist. Now I can't do much here because it needs to be clipped. So I'll clip that up to the waist so that it spreads there, and I'll continue with the marking all the way around up to the shoulder and get to the shoulder, continuing on down to the top of the armhole. And this we're going to bring off over here, and we're going to have it level with the screw, make a mark. We're going to actually move this around here. Don't worry about all of this stuff coming down here. It's going to go away. We want a mark that's at the stitching. You can feel that through there, and the under part of the plate. And we're going to come down, continuing on down the stitching here. And I can see we need another clip up to the waist to make this smooth here. And then we're going to mark the underneath of the waist tape to get the entire shape of this piece. Take it off and true it and see how it fits. Now we're going to draw in the marks we have from our drape. We're going to go across the shoulder, and we're going to connect all of the tick marks that we got going around there. And we're going to mark it at the waist. We're coming up here on these marks that we got. Now, this is an armhole. So what we do with the armhole is we bring it down an inch and out a half. So we have a new mark here that is going to give us the ease at the underarm. And that's going to go down to the original waist. And then we're going to put in, make that hit all the three marks of the shoulder and the underarm. We're going to get all of that in there and get the armhole. Now we're going to add seam allowance to all of this, cut it out, and put it on the dress form to see how it fits. So here's the shape of the side back princess panel, so you can see what it looks like with the seam allowance added on here, the drop down armhole. So now we're going to pin it to the center front and put it back on the dress form and see how it fits. Here we're beginning to pin together the center back and the side, and we're pinning from the fold out. And observe that before I pin these together, there's a dart shape in here. Even though we're adding these pieces together in vertical seams, we're still taking up what amounts to a dart intake. Now, here it's straight, but here it begins to curve because of the shape of the back. So you may need to lift it, put your hand under there, keep the lines together that go together, pin it in there, but because we're going on a curve, you might have to put that over your hand to bring the edges together, like that. But we're still pinning from the fold out and the fold out. And so you're going to be getting a curved shape in there. And we see that things fit. Lines, the shoulder lines are together. The edges are even, and we're ready to put it up there and put it with the front. Here we're bringing the front and the back pieces together over the shoulder. We're matching the princess lines. I have the front folded back. The back is left flat. We're matching the princess lines over the shoulder, pinning from the fold out to get the pieces together. Here we see the complete princess bodice drape, all matched up. We see the level lines across the shoulder. We see the lines matching across the two pieces at the bust line. We've matched them over the shoulder. The technique of draping by sections using the folded edge of one piece against the edge of the next is very useful for developing original designs.